I want their leader brought here. I want him brought to me. I want the revolution crushed.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Mamluks. How are you, everyone? We are live with Bilal Abdul Kareem and Harry out of Indonesia. Welcome to the show, brothers.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thanks for having us.
Bilal, there's a lot to talk to you about, but I want you and Harry to introduce each other, or introduce Harry to you, especially because he hasn't been on previous shows with you. But Harry, you were saying you look up to Bilal because he gives a much more balanced approach to journalism out of Syria, or at least any kind of commentary that's coming out of Syria, where it seems like there's just two teams that are either pro Ahmad Shara or pro Iran / pro Assad type commentary that's coming through many different channels like Twitter and stuff. So Harry, why don't you go ahead and pick it up from there and tell us why you enjoy listening to Bilal.
So, Bilal, I've been a big fan of your work for a while because you are pretty nuanced. When this whole thing went down, a lot of people falsely accused me of being like some sort of hardcore Assadist because I said, well, I don't like Assad. I know he's done some bad things, but I'm not really sure how I feel about this other guy, especially given his background as former ISIS Al-Qaeda commander. I think it's a little bit questionable. And, I can also see that there's a lot of denialism amongst the pro-actual Assadists, people who actually do defend him or did defend him, and they weren't giving a lot of nuance. So I appreciate your work. I have been attacked for questioning questioning Jolani and some of his motives, and questioning where this was going to go. When I saw this going down, a few months back, I was saying, and a lot of other people were saying, this opens the door to Israel coming through and maybe being an even worse tyrant than what they had before. Can you touch on that? Am I missing something? Is there a real concern about Israel really taking over the country? And what do you think about Jolani's job so far?
Okay, well, Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah, wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Jazakumullah khair, brothers, for having me. It's good to be back. Salam to all the brothers and sisters in the States and around the world that might be watching and listening. The first thing is, as you mentioned, people are saying, look, you're either pro-Assad, pro-Iran, or you're pro-Jolani. That's kind of like people saying either you're with Saddam or you're with America. It's like, man, I ain't with no Saddam and I'm not with America. It's a lot more going on than just either Jolani or Assad. The first thing is Assad was a sadistic killer. And there isn't anybody from the 26 million people, except for the ones that were benefiting from him directly, that was sad that he's gone. Nobody's sad about that.
Bye-bye.
That's the reality I'm talking about. When you're dealing with people who starve their prisoners, there is no peace. The only security is that you have is by sucking up to a government that will suck you dry. Nobody was sad about his going. So anybody who will come and tell you something about, what about Iran? What about Assad? The Syrian people who knew him better than everybody else, nobody here is saying that we, maybe we should bring Assad back, maybe it'll be okay or something like that. Nobody is saying that. So if anybody says that to you, please tell them to put the crack pipe down and, let's move on, because
Right.
that is not a sentiment that anybody that was living under Bashar al-Assad has. As for Abu Muhammad Jolani, formerly known as, or I guess we should say now known as Ahmed Shara, um, it's not a secret that I am not a fan of his at all. I have lots of differences with him. Most of them are Islamic in nature. I think that the brothers and sisters were promised a certain thing, and he didn't deliver on that. And I don't think that he's trying to deliver on that. And I don't think that the brothers and sisters now believe that he's going to deliver on that.
Mhm.
I am not pro Jolani at all. But Syria, Ard al-Sham, Bilad al-Sham, is bigger than Abu Muhammad Jolani or Ahmed al-Shara and all. It's much bigger than that. And I'm happy that a lot of the brothers and sisters are starting to understand that it doesn't live or die with him. And that's what we need. We got to have the Syrian people being engaged in what's happening politically, asking questions. What's this? What's that? How does this work? Why did that happen? What are we going to do next? Now, I got to tell you, those voices are not as loud as I hoped that they would be, because here in the Middle East, particularly here in Syria, there isn't a culture of questioning the leadership. That culture's not there because there were no political parties during the Assad regime except for the ones that he allowed. In other words, when he was running for office, he would get one of his buddies and say, "Hey, man, you're going to run against me, but yo, don't be too fresh, all right? So, you just say a few things and all." And so there was no real political participation. So helping the brothers and sisters here to understand that we're not going to win unless they start to participate. It's hard work, but it's definitely worth it. And I do think that progress is being made. So, no, I'm not pleased with the policies. I mean, he's doing operations with the Americans. What's up? What the heck happened? What went wrong here? Now, maybe
I thought we were the bad guys, bro. Come on now.
now, see, here's the thing. Okay, all right. Obviously, you think that the Americans are cool now. Well, we want to think the Americans are cool too. Tell us what you know. It can't, or is it just you just jumping from one side because you want to play the Islamic card when you need to get the brothers who are undermanned, outgunned, outstripped by the enemy, and you want them to run out there with all this zeal? So you start talking about some Islam, and we got to go get them. Allahu Akbar. Okay, but then,
Well, let me, if you don't mind, I'd like to jump in real quick and ask you this question, if you don't mind to follow up. What do you think's going on with his relationship with America? Because some of my Iraqi followers, I was in the army years ago. I was in Iraq from 2008, 2009. I've been in combat. I know what Iraq looks like. I'm not as familiar with the Middle East as you are because you live there full time. This was before I was Muslim. I'm Muslim now, 5 years. What's going on with his relationship with Americans? Because at one point he was part of the Iraqi resistance, and now he's working with us. Do you think he capitulated, or do you think he had a change of heart? Does somebody have something on him? Because that's a common rumor that I hear on social media all the time. Oh, he's an asset of the CIA and Mossad. What is he exactly? What is this relationship?
Say anything that I don't know, but I'm going to say this. Hakan Fidan, who is the foreign minister, the Turkish foreign minister, his previous portfolio was the intelligence chief for Turkey. Mm-hmm. And of course, he works for Turkish interests. That's normal. I don't think there's anything strange about that. He said back in December that the group Hayat Tahrir Sham was sharing intelligence with Turkey for about ISIS and about Al-Qaeda for 10 years. Mm-hmm. So sharing intelligence with Turkey, which is where the drones that were picking off Muslims here in Syria were taking off from. So it's not realistic that there was no communication between Turkish authorities and American authorities. I'm going to say that again. The drones used to take off from the Incirlik Air Base in southern Turkey. That's not a secret.
Hmm.
And Hakan Fidan was the intelligence chief at that time. That's not a secret. He said that Abu Muhammad or Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, and of course Abu Muhammad Jolani is the leader, had been sharing intelligence against ISIS and against Al Qaeda for 10 years. So there's the connection to the Americans right there. And that's not my speculation. That's just the facts that are on the ground. Nobody doesn't know that the Incirlik Air Base used to house the American drones. Nobody doesn't know that Hakan Fidan was the intel chief. Nobody knows. Nobody doesn't know that now he is the foreign minister and he's speaking on behalf of the Turkish government. So I'm saying again, I'm not blaming him. He's just saying what happened. Okay,
Right.
but let's go back into this thing briefly. You've got ISIS, who are genocidal maniacs, and I've been saying that since like 2014, and my opinion of them has not changed. But let's talk about Al Qaeda. At one point, Abu Muhammad Jolani gave the bay'ah to Al Qaeda so that he would be considered to be Al Qaeda. Everybody knows that. That's not a secret, is it? Who doesn't know that? That was
Right.
common public knowledge. Okay. But the group at that time, Jabhatun Nusra, they were doing propaganda videos encouraging young brothers to join Jabhatun Nusra, or in other words, Al Qaeda. But then it turns out that Hakan Fidan is saying that within that time period, when they were actually calling people to join Al Qaeda, he was giving information against Al Qaeda. Again, these are not my statements. I'm a journalist. I'm saying that within that 10-year time period, he said this in December 2024. This takes us back to December of 2014. Now, that could mean 10 years, could mean 11, could mean 9, but that's Hakan Fidan's statement. And
Okay.
therefore, I'm sorry if I'm being a bit long-winded here, but if we're saying that, look, I've got a drug sting operation, okay? It wouldn't be considered lawful if there's a guy walking down the street and then I come up to him and I say, hey, man, why don't you come try this stuff, man? I got the best stuff. He said, nah, man, I'm not with it. I said, oh, come on, man, don't be like that. And he said, no, I don't want it. I'm not into drugs. I said, look, man, here's $20. You try my stuff. If you like it, then you buy it from me, and the $20 is yours. And as soon as he takes the stuff from me, the police roll up and then arrest him. That's entrapment.
That's entrapment. Yeah, it is
That's
entrapment.
entrapment.
I was gonna say, didn't he also have bayat with al-Baghdadi of ISIS back in the day before that? That's what I thought. He
Okay.
was at one point ISIS, and then he turned on al-Baghdadi. And from what I've been told on the internet, it coincided right around the time he was picked up by the Americans when we were in Iraq, and he was there. He got captured for a few years, and somehow he got let loose. Is that accurate, or am I missing something?
I don't think that the timeline is accurate because it was Abu Bakr Baghdadi that actually sent him to Syria. So it wasn't that he was working with Baghdadi and then he got arrested and then he found his way to Syria and Baghdadi's like, oh, you're in Syria. All right, great. Now we can start working. No, I think that timeline might be a little bit off. But as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't really make a difference. He
Doesn't
was
make a
working
difference.
with Baghdadi, and they had their thing going on. At some point, he decided he wanted to do his own thing, and he broke away from him, and the rest is history. Now,
Yeah, I just want to remind people, for all the people who say that, I just want to remind people that in Iraq and in Syria, but in Iraq as well, ISIS was so terrible and Al Qaeda were so terrible that Iraqis literally started working with the Americans to get rid of them. That's kind of how America sort of won in Iraq, kind of, sort of, is that they were so terrible that it was like, oh, we're going to have to work with the Americans now to get rid of these people.
well,
I just want to put that out
basically,
there.
I'm just giving people the facts and the information on the ground. some people might like or might not like, but I mean, that's the history lesson.
Hmm.
Bilal, as far as some of the more recent issues that have happened since you last came on the show, um, we saw some or a high degree of Israeli involvement in Syria's affairs, internal matters, where there were some issues, some insurrection type of events that happened in Latakia. What has transpired since those events, since the Israeli bombing campaign started, and there was a whole lot of upheaval from the Druze community, who was accusing the Ahmed Shara government of genocide, and all kinds of different accusations were being thrown. Can you clarify what exactly happened, or what was the fallout from those events up to now?
Okay. All right. I'm going to try to paint a mental picture for everybody, but I'm going to rely on you, brothers, that if it's not clear, then you say, hey, brother, it's not clear. Can you clarify? Okay?
Got it.
Deal? Okay. First of all, if you're not familiar with the map of Syria, in the very south of Syria, you have Damascus, and south of Damascus, you have three provinces. You have Quneitra, Dara, and you have Suedat. These are the three provinces which are southernmost. Dara and Quneitra border on the occupied Israeli territories. And then you have Suedat. Okay, you guys are with me?
Yeah.
Okay. What took place was this: the Druze community and the Bedouin community are kind of like black folks and some of the Hasidic Jews in Brooklyn, New York. Sometimes the two communities don't get along. It happens sometimes. Maybe the summer comes, fist fight breaks out, some licks are passed. It happens, but that doesn't mean that that black people in Brooklyn and the Hasidic Jews, they couldn't live together, because they did. They did. They buy from each other's stores. They walk on the same streets. But it doesn't mean that they always got along. Now, when you take the Bedouin and the Druze communities, same thing. They didn't always get along. There were problems and issues and such like that. But that wasn't the dominant thing. And they occupied each other's spaces, their streets. They knew each other. It just wasn't that kind of hostile enmity that some people might be thinking. However, the Netanyahu saw this as an opportunity, because he wants to secure his northern border by way of the southern border on Syria. And that's those three communities, or those three provinces. Again, they are Quneitra, Dara, and Suedat. Okay, so we've got these three provinces. Quneitra, which is just outside of the Golan Heights, has a 1974 disengagement line. That means that the Israeli forces or the Syrian forces cannot or should not cross that line. As soon as the Assad government fell, the Israelis were like, huh? What you talking about? What line are you talking about?
Oh, that's right. Ka-ching. Let's go for it.
Right. Hey, there's nobody here.
Ta-da! Surprise.
And they took over Mount Hermon, also known as Jebel Sheikh. This is the highest point in southern Syria. You can see southern Syria, southern Lebanon, northern Israel. They took it, and Netanyahu said that we're going to be here indefinitely. Again, ain't nobody hiding it. They said, oh, we need this for Israel's security. Okay, that's what happened. Then they took other territory in the Quneitra area. You with me? All right. But then Suedat is there. You've got the Druze community. Fight breaks out between the Bedouins and the Druze community. And all of a sudden, this guy named Hikmet Hejri, whom nobody really knew that much about him before, he's pro-Israel, and we want to be a part of the greater Israeli project. And this is what he says. Again, that's not under the table. He said this in interviews that we want to be a part of of greater Israel. And all of a sudden now, the Israelis are helping them out against the the Bedouins. Then Ahmed al-Shara's government got involved, came down, tried to quell the violence. Israel bombed the convoy. Ahmed al-Shara's people went back to Damascus. That left the Bedouin tribes vulnerable to reprisal attacks. And that's what happened. They started, and this is Hikmat Hajiri's Druze forces, started throwing the brothers from the buildings. They started slaughtering them, and so on and so forth. And it was a big mess.
Bilal, just to pause you there for a second, the listeners are looking at the map of Syria right now. At the bottom is Quneitra and Dara, as you were mentioning, and Sueda. So what parts is the Israelis occupied right now? And we know that they have the Golan Heights as well.
Okay, you see where the Golan Heights are?
Right.
Right. And you see Quneitra is right next to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep, right there. That's Quneitra. So that's where the 1974 disengagement line is. Okay? So now, the Israelis not supposed to be on that side of the line where the pointer is, but
that's a pretty big chunk of territory they got now.
It is. Okay, but
that's
now,
a pretty big chunk.
I'll go back to explaining it. Okay? If you can just big that up again, the map. Okay, yeah, there we go. Okay, now next to it, as I mentioned, you have Dara. You see it?
Yeah.
Okay. Go down to the south. South, right. That's Dara. Okay? All right. Now go to the right, and you'll see Suedat. That's where the Druze militia forces are, and they're backed by the Israelis. Okay?
Got it.
Okay.
Okay. Now, what happened, back to the story, is the Bedouin tribes called on other Bedouin tribes around the country to come to the south to help defend them. Brother, they came down like ants. They came down. Now, they are not an organized group, and they're not known as tacticians, but when you've got thousands of them that came down, they can make some progress, and they did.
Oh, they sure can. They can.
And they took the countryside and much of the city of Suedat. Now, once again, I'm talking facts, because if a brown fellow like me was in the city of Suedat, then ain't no way that it was Israeli-backed forces in the city of Suedat. Okay? Okay.
So, Brother Bilal, if I remember correctly, I saw you on X. You were live streaming this event. The government was the government of HTS under Jolani. I'm sorry, I can't help but call him Jolani still. It's hard for me to. Anyways, the government out of Damascus, we'll just say the government of Damascus, you were saying during this live stream, was preventing people, the Bedouins, from moving further west and taking back the city. But they did it anyway in defiance of the government, or did the government allow them to take it back? What happened there?
Okay, what happened was, after the Israelis bombed the convoy, the Damascus forces pulled out. They left.
They just left and gave up.
They just left. And that's why the Bedouin tribes were left vulnerable to reprisal attacks. But nobody accounted that they were going to call upon the Bedouins from around the country, and that they would respond in such huge numbers. So what happened is that the Bedouin tribes, they bought their Kalashnikovs and whatever they had, and they came in and they smacked the Druze tribes around. They took much of the countryside and took much of the city. But then Damascus decided to say, hey, we need to get back involved in this. I don't know why they thought that. Your guess is as good as mine. But then they went back into the area and they told the Bedouin tribes, hey, man, y'all did a great job. You know what? We got it from here, man. Ain't no big deal. We'll take it from here.
Oh, man. That's kind of
I'm
like
just being real with you.
that's, I'm just having traumatic memories to my childhood when I upstaged my mom about something that she couldn't do, and then she's like, "Oh, thank you, son. Let me take over. I'm actually the person who did
Right. I'll take it from here.
this."
Now, what ended up happening was the Bedouin tribes didn't go there to govern, so they said, "Okay, sure." So they pulled back into Dara. And then what the Jolani's forces did is they set up checkpoints and blocked the roadways so they couldn't get back into the battlefield areas. So they systemically went to the different areas and got rid of the Bedouin tribe fighters. Lo and behold, somehow, I don't know how, but somehow the Druze forces came back. And they started running the same territory that the Bedouin tribes had taken over. Somehow. I don't know how, but somehow.
Wow. Well, Bilal, I gotta ask you this question because I have a certain follower on X. He knows because he's probably watching the show. I'm going to give him a quiet shout out. A lot of Syrians who are more nuanced and a little bit more educated, or at least we'll say less emotional or a little more detached, or who are outside of Syria even. Sometimes they can be a little more honest, but they will DM me personally. And one of the things that this gentleman in California said to me, he said that people are really starting to not trust the government after this last escapade. Is that fair that the government's in a lot of trouble now? It's starting to lose legitimacy really quickly, or is that too soon to make that kind of claim?
No, that's real.
Oh, it's real. So Giuliani might be disappearing soon here.
No, I'm not necessarily saying that. What I am saying is that he had rock star like status in December, in January. Okay? Donald Trump lowers the sanctions, and people are like, this guy is the best thing since sliced bread because they're not as familiar with him. I told people, you best wait and see what happens next. And once again, I'm not saying that he's no good. I'm just telling you what's happening on the ground. Now,
He's losing legitimacy.
Explain how those Bedouin tribes got told to leave, then locked out, and the territory went over to the Druze forces. Because right now, the government doesn't control anything in Suedat. Nothing. Now, how did that happen? Up until now, we haven't heard any official explanation from the government in terms of what's up. So if people are saying that, oh, Bilal's a hater, Bilal's this, I gave you the facts. And I am very willing to know how it went from the Bedouin tribes controlling it to being in the hands of the security forces of Damascus, to now it's in the hands of al-Hijri's forces. And I don't see how that happened. I don't see how it happened.
Well, one of the things I want the listeners to understand about why this is important, why we're discussing this, is because what they are at least more familiar with is the Greater Israel Project, where Israel wants to gobble up large swaths of Lebanon, Syria, even parts of Jordan and Saudi Arabia, and we have to realize how this fits in with their plans and how they're attempting to consolidate power in the southernmost Syria and expand their territory. So this is why it's so important for us to pay attention to these events over here in southern Syria.
First, I just want to tell everybody, I'm not sure if you have the mirror effect. This is my right hand. Because sometimes when I drink, and they say, don't listen to him, he's drinking with his left hand. You know.
Oh, my
goodness. Okay. Why is it important? Listen, brothers and sisters, I'm going to tell you something. And I'm going to be real here, and this is why I'm always in trouble. Here's the reality. Syria is not just for Syrians. This is a part of the Ummah. Mm-hmm. And the brothers and sisters inside and outside of Syria have got to stay engaged and they've got to ask questions. They got to ask, what's up? How did this happen? We want to know. We're not blaming you. You got a tough job, but we want to know how we got to this point. Now, if we don't start asking some questions, brother, let me tell you something. It's going to be rough here. This is a tough neighborhood. And that's why I'm encouraging the brothers and sisters not to try to overthrow the government, not to throw rocks at Abu Muhammad Jolani or Ahmed Shara, and not to deface posters. I'm only saying that we need a culture of asking. The Bedouin tribes were there. They did a job. They took over certain territories, and somehow it went back over to Hejri's forces. How did that happen? And what's the plan going forward? You've got rallies that just took place, another one just this past Friday, wherein you've got people from the Druze community who are saying that we want Israel to intervene. Now, I want everybody to understand something. I don't want anybody to think that everybody, all the Druze community want the Israelis, because they don't. But Hijri's got the most guns and the most guys, so therefore he's going to have the biggest voices. So even members of the Druze community left the Sueda area because they knew their opinions made them a target. So that has to be borne in mind. But brothers and sisters, if you switch off or you disengage because you're busy with the Palestinian thing and the Syrian thing, it's the same thing.
All ties in.
It's the same genocidal maniacs that are plaguing Syria, that are plaguing the West Bank and Gaza. Stay engaged.
One of the important questions, at least that many people who are sympathetic to Ahmad Shara's government are saying that, hey, his hands are tied. Israel has knocked out all of his weapons, and or at least of significant weapons that are related to defense and can mount any kind of realistic defensive strategy around the Israeli incursions. What would you have done given all the different problems, from problems related to the power grid to supplying food and just basic infrastructure related problems and related to public utilities and just daily livelihood? Syria is very much just getting out of this state as a failed state, and now you're expecting them to take on the world, and that's just an unrealistic expectation. How would you respond to that, Bilal?
Okay, the first issue that I would say is this. The Syrian people are tired. The Syrian people just want a chance to catch their breath. I get it. I totally get it. I live here in Syria, and I see the people. But brother, I got to tell you something. Those enemies are not going to wait for you to catch your breath.
No,
if you're going to just stand there and just start panting and just say, hey, just give me a minute, you think your enemies are going to say, okay, tell me when you're ready. It doesn't work like that. The Taliban had fought a brutal battle alongside other Mujahideen fighters up to 1970, starting in 1979, against the Russian occupation. And then when the Russians got run out, all the Afghans wanted to do was chill. They didn't want to fight again. The Americans weren't having it. They didn't ask the Afghans, come on, guys, I know y'all tired, man. Can we do this now? What, we come back next year? Yeah. You gonna be ready then? All right, we'll see you then. It's not like that. So we can't look at this from a dynamic of, well, we're gonna have to wait and see until, if you're ready. Remember that game we used to play when we were kids, Ready or Not, Here I Come?
Yeah.
That's how it is. So this is the first thing. The second thing is that when you're dealing with America, whether you like it or you don't like it, you're dealing with Israel. Now, I'm not sitting here telling you that Jolani is cool with the Israelis or whatever. I'm not telling you that. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that he's cool with the Americans. And the Americans are the backers of Israel. Is it realistic remotely realistic that the Americans are going to see a strong and empowered Syria on Israel's borders? No way.
So,
Totally throw it out of your mind.
but we also understand that Ahmad Shara is a very close ally of Turkey, and we know just recently, as was announced by Turkey, that it has cut trade ties with Israel and will ban Israeli airplanes from using its airspace. I am wondering whether the dynamic changes now in the relationship with Israel, where Ahmad Shara's government receives a lot more military aid in forming some level of defense against Israel, because we understand that there is a level of American approval of Ahmad Shara because of his Turkey is basically vouching. Turkey is a NATO member, a close ally of the United States. For better or worse, it's still it has a very good relationship even with Donald Trump. So I imagine this break with Israel can allow some level of opportunity, at least for the immediate term. Ultimately, when you're in a situation where Syria is right now, where you need someone on your side, you need someone with power on your side, there's no better opportunity than with Turkey, right?
I totally agree with you. I think that the Turks are a natural ally, and we'll talk more about why that is. I think that Erdogan and all can contribute a lot and has contributed a lot. But you got to be careful about something here. The Americans are not backing Ahmed al-Shara because Turkey said he's cool. That's not the reason. They're backing him because they feel he's someone that they can control. And
Yes.
so far they've been successful. And I'll tell you why. Before people just say, he's just a hater. Here's the reality. Going back in Al-Bab City about 6 weeks ago, the Americans and Ahmed al-Shara's security forces pulled off a kill operation of some ISIS operatives, a man and his two sons, and they arrested a couple other people. Dude, what the heck? What the heck is going on here? When did we start doing operations with the Americans? Some of the journalists, they knew what they were doing in the past, but nobody wanted to believe it. No, it can't be. But now CENTCOM came out and they made it clear that it's not hidden anymore. And then again, it happened about 2 weeks ago in the village of Atma on the Turkish border. They pulled off another operation wherein the Americans and the Ahmed al-Shara's security forces pulled off another operation, killing another ISIS operative. Now, I keep doing this because I'm saying something. Hold up. I thought this revolution was about justice. You got all these guys. Come on, Ahmed Shara. You got all them guys with the masks on. You can't go and arrest this guy and put him on trial. I thought that's what this was about. But now we're pulling off kill operations with the same forces that are backing a genocide against the Muslims just some kilometers that way. Come on,
You know what that reminds me of, Bilal? It reminds me of the Batman movie, where Israel's kind of like I was telling the crew of the other last episode I was on. It's kind of like the Joker and the Batman. It's like Israel's like the Joker, like Heath Ledger. And they got all these clown mask dudes going around and invading the bank and taking it over. It's that the heist scene in the movie at the beginning of the movie. Remember that?
Yeah,
and they're all killing each other off. Oh, the Joker told me we gotta kill you because there's gonna be one less share. And then wait, don't shoot me! And then he gets shot.
Yeah.
And then at the end, it's only the Joker that walks away with all the money. I feel that's what's going on here.
Well, I mean,
that's what's going on here.
It's not. See, this is the thing. This is what I hope that Ahmed Shara understands. Dealing with the Americans, it's not designed for him to win.
Oh
It
no.
is designed for him to fail, and
Hmm.
but just enough to keep him going. And I will use this case in point with Egypt, Abdul Fattah al-Sisi. The Egyptian people hate Abdul Fattah al-Sisi. They hate him. And that's what America wants because he
Yes.
has no popular following. And the Americans only give you a certain amount just to keep him going because they don't want him to have a popular following. They don't want him to economically become strong. And right on Israel's borders, all of a sudden he's going to go rogue and the people are saying, "We love you." Americans ain't having it. That's the American playbook for foreign policy to
Right.
keep
So
and to
that's
keep.
this. Oh, sorry, Bilal. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
just I just had one quick thing here. So then, if that's true, and I do agree with you on that, why doesn't Erdogan send more troops to help Syria? Because this is a thing that I hear over and over again, and I've asked this myself. I've seen Daniel Hakikachu ask this. I've gotten in trouble for saying this. Why doesn't Syria? Why doesn't Erdogan? Because Turkey's one of the largest militaries in NATO, right up there, pound for pound, almost with the United States. Why aren't they sending Erdogan? Why isn't Erdogan sending more Turkish troops? Or is it because Erdogan's in the same situation, really, as Sisi and Giuliani and everybody else?
Okay, here's the deal. Turkey isn't remotely in the same weight class as America militarily. But after having said that, the Turks know how to fight, and
They do.
they've got some good toys. So you can't. I mean, Erdogan's no sideshow, as we used to say. You see, he's a force. But after having said that, you would find that America would come up with some cockamamie story as to why they need to get involved militarily to protect Israel. Israel and America are one and the same. They're not two entities. I'm going to say this again. America and Israel are one and the same. They're not two entities. They're one and the same. You got to understand that dynamic. So, with that in mind, why doesn't Turkey send more troops into Syria? Turkey has a problem on its border, and that is the Kurdish militia forces, which are to the northeast. Can you show that map again,
Yeah.
please? Is that possible?
Yes. Oh, 1 second here. Oops, sorry. We got.
Alhamdulillah, it wasn't a letter from the wife.
All right.
I should listen to my mother.
Here we go.
All right, now everybody, take a look and see what we're looking at here. Let's go. Okay, now move your pointer to the right. Okay, you see Kamishli, Ras Al Ain, Hasaka, all those areas. You see that? Yep. Are you
Yeah.
there? Can you
Yeah.
hear me?
Yes. Yes. I'm circling them.
Okay. All right. Now, go south. South. Okay.
Okay.
Right to around Deir ez-Zor. Half of that, all of that territory, plus go over to Raqqa. Go up to Raqqa. All right. All of that territory, like a third of the country, maybe a little bit less, is in the hands of Kurdish militia forces.
Mm.
Kurdish militia forces like the PKK, SDF, YPG, ABC 123, they are the arch enemies of the Turks. The Turks will never allow that there would be a strong and empowered Kurdish militia force on their border. That's got to be made clear, okay? Now, what the Israelis want is a land corridor from the south. Go to the south. Go to the south.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Over to that Quneitra area where we were talking about before. Golden Heights.
Yeah.
Yep, keep going. Okay. Now, everybody sees Golden Heights, right? That's Israel. Okay. Now, what they want is a land corridor that goes from the Golden Heights, go to Dara, go to Suedat, go north up to where it says Homs and Tadmor, up. Homs and Tadmor, bring the map down. Yep. Bring the map down. All right, now keep going towards Deir ez-Zor. Keep going up now towards Hasaka, all the way to Kamishli, back down to Raqqa.
Wow.
Okay? They want a land corridor to all of those territories. Why? They want that land corridor so that they can keep Syria divided, fighting amongst themselves, and completely weak and of no threat to Israel. It's called the Corridor of Dawood.
Right.
Maybe you might be starting to hear about that. That's what the Israelis want.
Wow.
Now, if we go back to the south, now let's talk about how far they are right now. Okay, go back down. Okay, you go Golan Heights, that's Israeli territory. A good portion of Quneitra, that's Israeli territory. Daraa is a territory that on paper it's under the Damascus government, but Netanyahu said in March that he didn't want any troops in the southern part of Daraa on their border. And I've been there, and I can vouch that there are no Damascus troops. It's kind of like a no man's land. And the Israelis come and go almost on a daily basis. They set up checkpoints, smack the people around, steal their stuff, and then go back. And no shots are fired. Can you dig?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jeez.
Then you go to Suedat. You see? Right there. That's where Netanyahu's boy, Hikmet Tahajiri, is. So you could say, in effect, that's Tel Aviv-controlled territory. You with me?
Yep.
Okay. Now, go up towards Homs and Tedmor in this area. Now, it's not on the map, but there's a place in this area called Tenef. Tenef is an area that who controls? The Americans. They got their forces there. So some of that area that's to the east of Homs is American territory, so they're not going to have to worry about that. Go up towards Deir ez-Zor. Now, there's some territory there that's not under that's under the control of the central government in Damascus. Now, when you start going up to Hasaka, Raqqa, and Kamishli, it's all Kurdish militia force. That means the Israelis want to back the Kurdish militia forces. The Turks ain't going to have it. And that's why I believe that within a year, we'll be back. Everybody will be back on the battlefields.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I could see that. That was what my friend in California said. He said something similar. So my question, though, going back to about Erdogan, why doesn't Erdogan commit troops, peacekeeping troops, or at least a buffer? Why doesn't he start sending people to Damascus? Or am I wrong? Is he already there? What forces does the Turkish army have in Syria right now? And why are they not helping the central government secure, or at least deter the Israelis from encroaching eastward?
Okay, the government in Ankara sent forces to take over the T4 airport and another airport in the southern part of the country. The Israelis bombed it. Now, as the story goes, 4 Turkish soldiers were killed. I cannot confirm that. But I do know that the T4 airport was bombed, and I have not heard that the Turks made another attempt to take it over. So the Turks have sent assets in. It didn't work out, but I'm not sure where it went after that. Are you guys with me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah.
All right, now.
So they may have chickened out then.
They might have, or they might have another plan. I'm not sure.
Well, one of the things that at least Turkey has to consider is that if Turkish soldiers get killed by Israel, they have to respond, and that could open up a new conflict with Israel / the United States, and they might
that makes it complicated because it's part of NATO.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
right.
Let me tell you something.
It's not NATO. It's NATO-ish.
it's NATO-ish, and
Yes.
ain't anybody feeling that right now.
Yeah, no one
Everybody's
cares.
But
from that.
here's where I think more of the problem is going to come in. Turkey is cautious about going full out against the Kurdish militia forces because of potential backing by the Israelis. Okay, and that will bring them to loggerheads with the Americans. Now, unless Russia or China is going to back Turkey, Erdogan is going to be hesitant and try every last option so that that does not happen. Because
Gotcha.
America has a lot of tools in order to be able to cause problems for Erdogan, economic tools, aside from arming the Israelis, i.e., the Kurdish militia forces. So there are a lot of things that the Turks have to be concerned about.
Okay. Here's a wild card for you. So, Professor Morandi, the Iranian gentleman who's been on a lot of YouTube global analysis programs lately, he said that in a way, the fall of Assad was a blessing for Iran, and that now they're going to have a big, complicated mess to do their kind of cloak and dagger stuff that they're notorious for. They won't have to hold down a government, they can just send forces in there to cause chaos. And then I'm thinking about this more and more. Russia and Iran are now getting closer together than they ever have been because we continue to push Iran closer to Russia. We continue to push Russia and Iran at the same time to the point of oblivion, and so does Israel. So it makes sense that Iran and Russia in particular would work together. I read that Jelani was trying to reach out to the Russians at one point, trying to reconcile. Where will Russia and Iran fall into this? Obviously, I mean, I doubt that the Russians would ever try anything like trying to reinstate Assad. I think they're pretty well done with them. They don't like him. They apparently tried to resurrect and coach him to do the right thing over the last decade, and he was very unwilling to listen to Russian advice. So, what would Russia and Iran do in this situation if this war kicks off in a year from now, as you're suggesting? Or do you think they'll sit on the sidelines?
I don't think that the bigger player, Russia, could afford to sit on the sidelines.
That's what I'm
But
thinking too.
they would back is anybody's guess right now because they want to be friendly with the Kurdish militia forces because they are nominally allied with the Alawite forces in the coastal areas. You see, what the Russians want is to maintain their only military base in the entire Middle East, which is in those coastal areas.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody that's going to let them do that, they're going to be cool with them. But of course, Ahmed Shara is not in a position to do that because he wants to be cool with America. And America's going to say, yo, if you want to be our friend, you can't do stuff like that. So that means that whoever's going to tell them, the Russians, that they can have their base there, then the Russians will say, hey, let bygones be bygones. That's just how it works. Now, if the Russians say, well, look, America's fighting a proxy war with us through Ukraine, we can fight a proxy war with America and we can back Erdogan and his forces. That's a possibility. We're going to have to wait and see how that's going to play out. Mm-hmm. But as for Iran, Iran's got its own problems. Iran's is not going to be a major player.
You don't think Iran's going to get involved then?
No, I don't think that they have the horses to be a major player. So yeah, mm-hmm. I would really I don't see them doing that.
How is Iran continue? Oh, sorry, so
one of the at least underlying thought behind the Syria and Turkish strategy must be that hey, there's no satisfying the Israelis. There's no way you can actually pacify their or limit their appetite for more. And once it seems like it's like a matured or a maturation type of a process that they're going through, where they need to understand, like, if you don't confront this head on, this will become a problem that will destabilize the entire region. And it'll be too late, where they've grabbed up so much territory, so much, and sowed so much division within your regions with the PKK and the SDF and other factions all across the Middle East. Their strategy, the Israeli strategy, is so plainly obvious. Whether it's Iran, Turkey, anything, they're sowing seeds of discord, and they want to make sure that these rulers, whether it's Saudi Arabia to Syria, they're giving kickbacks to the American-Israeli alliance. That they just how we saw recently, the Gulf states recently gave almost $1 trillion in tribute to the United States in form of investments or whatever. But it's really what a mobster does, right? Protection money. You're one of the funny things you hear from a lot of people in Dubai or something like that. They'll say, well, at least we're not Americans. You American Muslims, you guys have it's pretty rich of you guys to criticize what we're doing, but you guys pay taxes to the American war machine. But that's not quite fair, because Dubai and all these other Gulf states, they're giving trillions in investments in tribute money or protection money, effectively, for their government to stay in power. And it seems as though that the strategy in America and utilizing the Israeli surveillance apparatus says, hey, you make sure that money keeps flowing up to us. We have Israel here, who is a specialist in surveillance. We can always tell you who is ready to overthrow you. So, Mohammed bin Salman, you know what? There's your checks cleared. Guess what? Here's a whole swath of data from Israeli intelligence about who is saying anything about you, and who even looked at you with a menacing glare. They can give you as much detail as you want as far as discord goes within your country, but if you're not giving those payments, if you're not playing ball with the Americans and the Israelis, you're not going to get that protection. And it seems like that strategy or that thought process hasn't really matured within the wider Turkish, Syrian apparatus. Like, hey, these people want you to bend the knee, and they want you to give up their resources, hundreds of billions of dollars worth of oil and whatever natural resources you have, in order to receive protection. It seems like that's how the game is being played. And you can...
Well, brother, it was a shame what we saw as the Americans were starving the Palestinians through their proxy Israel. And that awful Donald Trump goes to Muslim countries, and bin Salman trips over his own feet 600 billion over the course of how many years? I'm not sure. I forgot how many years.
I think it's like a 10-year plan or something.
Yeah, it might be. And then you have, then he says, okay, well, it's off to Qatar. Qatar is like, no, man, I got 1.2 trillion for you, and a plane to go with it. And then, Trump is like, okay, well, that sounds good. Let's go on over to Abu Dhabi. Let's see what they're talking about. Bam, $104 trillion. What the message that they sent is that Palestine doesn't matter. Who told you that Palestine mattered? You said that? Anybody said that? It doesn't matter. We're helping, we're paying for you to continue doing what you're doing in Palestine. We're paying for it. You just keep funneling the money over to the Israelis. We paying for it because you can't put it any other way.
Yeah.
War costs money. Sending billions of dollars over to Israel costs money, and two of those three countries were investing in defense, in the defense sector. I'm kind of lost for words even when I think about it.
Yeah.
You get up there with your big smile, and you're standing in front of the people, right next to Donald Trump, who is funding and benefiting the Israelis who are carrying out a starvation campaign, and then you send some blankets and some flashlights and two or three tents, and then you say, "Oh, look, we spent $20 million," yeah, but you gave him 1.4 trillion. And you gave him 1.2 trillion from this country. It was, my mother's old now. She has dementia, and so she doesn't know what's going on now. But if she had her faculties, she'd say, "Boy, what in the world them Arabs doing out there?" I wouldn't know what to tell them. I wouldn't know what to say.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of jealous of your mom. I wish I had dementia too, and I didn't know what's going on either.
Ignorance is bliss, huh?
It really is. It really is. I mean, in defense of Donald Trump, the only thing I can say in defense of him is that I think at some point he does seem to be pushing back a little bit more than Joe Biden, although he does the same things in the end. And I think we know why, because he's also compromised. Joe Biden seemed like he was more of a true believer, like an old guard Democrat who believed in Zionism as pillar. And Trump seems just straight up compromised.
I'm sorry to cut you off. You said that it seems like Donald Trump is pushing back more than Biden.
What I'm saying is Donald Trump will say things like they don't know what the F they're doing, but then he ends up doing the same things policy-wise as Biden because he seems compromised in a deeper way than just being an old guard ideologue. I'm going off about the Epstein files, basically. Doesn't matter what his feelings are on the matter. He's going to do what they tell him at the end of the day. That's what I'm getting at.
I think that he only says stuff like that. If you go back to 1 week before he made his trip to the Gulf, 1 week. Before then, oh, Netanyahu, he's cool. We know each other for a long time. That's my man. And all right, a week before he went to the Gulf, all of a sudden, he started saying how Netanyahu, I don't know what he's doing. Netanyahu is, he's not doing the right things, and so on and so forth. That was just a couple of days just before he went to the Gulf, so as not to embarrass all of those Gulf Arab jokers that were giving him all that money. So you got to understand something. He knew what they were going to pledge before he went. That's why he went. Can you dig? So
gotcha.
I want to make it very clear is that he only said all of that stuff a week before he went to the Gulf so that it wouldn't embarrass them a lot. People start to say, oh, there's starting to be a rift between Netanyahu and Trump. Netanyahu's supervisor and Trump's supervisors are the same people. Say it again. Netanyahu's supervisors and Trump's supervisors are the same people. So this thing about a split, if you take this guy, Thomas Barak, he is the envoy here in the Middle East, and he's frequently here in Syria, goes talk to Ahmed Shara and stuff like that. He said a statement that made me laugh like about a week ago or 10 days ago. He said, we raised the issue of the bombings in Syria with the Israelis and all. We raised the issue with them. So?
Right. I definitely agree with you. I definitely agree with you. It's the same people. I guess what I'm getting at is I'm coming at it from a slightly different angle, which is I see parts of the United States government clearly as like compromised by Israel. You seem to be saying they're more like pretending to be enemies, but they're really just totally friends high-fiving each other 100%. You're not saying they're compromised. I'm saying they're compromised in a hostage situation. You're saying something different.
I'm saying that the American government, and I'm sorry if we're going to just get off into a little bit of a tangent, you can feel free to pull me back and all. If you look at the mayoral race in New York with Ron Mamdani, this guy's a big problem for them.
Yes,
And
he
I
is.
why. You see, you haven't seen Hakeem Jeffries and these other Democrats embrace Mamdani for a reason. And that is because they take that AIPAC money.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And
That's what I'm
that
saying. They're compromised.
is anti-Israel. Now, where's the problem here? The big problem is this. Mamdani is the front runner. That means, and it shows that the American people have had enough of this right to defend herself rhetoric. They ain't buying it no more.
Right.
What's happening is that Mamdani is the first major, the first candidate to run for a major office in America, New York, no less, New York City, on a platform of being anti-Israeli. Dang.
It's a big deal. It's a huge deal.
What happens if this cat wins? That would inspire other candidates to say, I can now have a moral compass and run for office. I'm doing it. And that scares them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So,
That's why AIPAC is going after Thomas Massey and MTG hardcore right now, because they're also breaking the mold.
they're panicking.
They should.
What's happening is in 2026 are the congressional and the senatorial races. You're going to start to see candidates that are anti-Israeli coming aboard talking about I'm against the genocide, stop funding Israel, and so on and so forth, because Mamdani is showing you can have a moral compass and you can participate in American politics. Before
Fully agree.
there was no such thing. You either take the AIPAC money, you either toe the line, or you be quiet. That's those only options you had. Mamdani is getting up there saying, yo, check this out. I'm not with the Israeli thing, and I'll tell you about it. So I think that it's a good thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me ask you this one real quick then. So do you think that Israel is accelerating their timeline? Like, we all know that the Greater Israel project of going all the way to Saudi Arabia and Baghdad was always their thing. It's been their thing for a long, long time. Do you think that this is being accelerated in pace and they're just going all in now because they know that they're about to lose the American people? This is kind of what I'm getting at. I feel like maybe you're saying tomato and I'm saying tomato. Parts of the government that are either compromised or in on it, whatever you want to say, those parts of the government are about to be either dwindle in power over the next decade, or they're going to be removed completely. What would you say to that? Do you think that the Israelis are intentionally accelerating the pace of combat, force tempo here, just because they could see the writings on the wall for the United States and political support?
Absolutely. Because
Yeah.
here's the deal. You see, the Israelis are looking at the writing on the wall. These different countries like France and Britain and other than them are saying that they're going to recognize Palestine as a state. Yeah, I mean, on the ground it doesn't mean a lot, but it's more than anybody ever had in the past. So while for us seeing our brothers and sisters dying, it's almost like meaningless. But in the scheme of things, in the different corridors of power around the world, it's not meaningless. Okay, after having said that, the Israelis are very, very concerned. They're isolated. They only have America. American elections are coming up in 2026. They don't have time, because if it's starting to, because already there in America, a lot of people are saying that the Democratic Party is in chaos. Okay, but why is it in chaos? because they are not listening to their constituents. The very people who make up the Democratic Party are saying, "Stop sending the weapons. What's wrong with you? Can't you hear us?" And the Democrats like Hakeem Jeffries and what's this other cat's name, Richie Torres, and all the rest of them, they're sitting there saying, "Yo, we done took the APAC money already. What we gonna do?"
Right. Can't turn back now.
They can't turn back now. You see, next thing you know, the videos come out with politicians with some chicks and stuff like that and everything. We've seen this happen before.
Yeah.
I wonder what they got on AOC other than just, "Hey, sweetheart, we'll give you a seat at the table."
I think AOC just wants power.
I think she does.
I don't think
she does too.
She doesn't.
You know what, dude? I can't. I don't know. I don't know what that girl is doing. I thought she had something, but then she decided that her flame kind of dimmed and cooled. But that's okay because Allah doesn't need her, and we don't need her. We don't need any of them jokers. The reality of the situation is that Al-Mudabbir, who Allah, who is arranging everything, and everything is going according to his plan. Now, we don't know what that plan is, and we don't know what our participation should be. That's why we need to work and let the work be the goal, not the natija. The natija is the result. Yeah. When you start thinking that, so I said, I got to work for the result. Dude, you might not see the result. Hamza ibn Abi Talib, Hamza ibn Abdul Muttalib, who was killed in the Battle of Uhud, he didn't see the fruits of his labor. All he had to do was to work for the work's sake, not for the results, because he didn't see the results. Salahuddin al-Ayyubi didn't see of how Islam spread all over the world. He didn't see it. So if he worked for those results, he would have died disappointed. Mm-hmm. So we can't work for the results. We have to work because this is what is enjoined upon us. The results are upon Allah. I'm going to kick as much butt as I possibly can until Allah calls me back. That's how we have to think and operate.
Bilal, before we move too far away from Syria, just wanted your thoughts on what your status is and of foreign fighters who came and helped Syria get liberated by from Bashar al-Assad's government. Where is all that? It seems like those issues are still being kind of in limbo.
Okay, I myself personally, on behalf of Muhajirin here in Syria, I'm not saying that I am the leader of all the Muhajirin. I'm not saying that at all. But I am saying on behalf of the Muhajirin, I submitted a letter to the Interior Ministry, Anis Khattab, basically asking for citizenship and the right to a Syrian passport for the Muhajirin who came to Syria to help during the Syrian civil war. But there are a couple of things I think people should understand. Issue number one, why are we seeking that? We're seeking that because anybody who came to help the Syrians during the Syrian civil war in their home countries, they were labeled as terrorists. We know that that isn't remotely the case. Even Ahmed Shara, he's not considered a terrorist anymore, but the other people who are here are still considered to be terrorists. So if they go back to their home countries, they'd be doing 10, 15, 20 years in prison for terrorism. That's number one. Number two, some of the people have lost their citizenship. It's been revoked by their government, so they don't have a citizenship, and they're rendered stateless. So both categories of people, of muhajirs, are considered to be stateless. Okay. The third thing, asking for the citizenship is not asking for a reward. We want a payment. You got to break us off something of the country or something. That's not what they're asking for. What they're saying is that the Prophet ﷺ used to encourage the Muslims that the Muslim does not abandon his brother. Our wives, our children, they don't have ID cards. Mm-hmm. They ain't got no ID card. So I have an ID card because I lived in territories that were outside of the Hayat Tahrir Shan during those last few years. But 99% of the Muhajirin live in those territories, and they have no ID card. They have no official documentation for them being in the country. And I think that and I'm just going to come right out, I'm going to say it. I think that it's aib. Aib is like it's considered a shame or a bad thing that we even have to ask. I mean,
Mm.
everybody can see our situation, can see that we're stateless. And when you, or I should say HTS, when they took over Idlib and its surrounding areas in 2018, that should have been the time to normalize the presence of Muhajirin, but that didn't happen. Now the entire,
Right.
and it's still not happening. And
Right.
I submitted the letter 2.5 weeks ago, and I ain't get no response yet.
So I have to ask these Mujahideen, these are mostly Uyghurs, right?
I'm sorry,
These are mostly they're mostly Uyghurs, right?
Oh, brother. They're Uyghurs, they're Egyptians, they're Saudis, they're Americans, they're Britons, they're Canadians. Brother, people came from all around the world.
Right, but
And
with the majority of them, what's the bulk of them? What's their ethnic majority?
I would say the
Or-
biggest number are Uyghurs, second biggest numbers are Egyptians, and then it goes further down, Westerners
Okay.
and Libyans and so on and so forth. South
Were they
Africa.
part of were they part of ISIS at all, or Al Qaeda, or were they always part of HTS? I want to clarify that because that's a big confusion I see on the internet a lot. I don't know the
Okay.
answer to that question.
Okay, let me clarify a few things in that regard. Firstly,
Okay.
this petition does not cover people who are a part of ISIS. I'll say it again. This
Okay.
petition does not cover people who were a part of ISIS. I'll say it for the third time, like the Prophet ﷺ used to do when he wanted to make something clear. This petition does not cover people who were a part of ISIS. That's the first thing.
Okay.
The second thing is that were the Muhajirin a part of ISIS? That would be the equivalent of saying, were the Syrians a part of ISIS? Sure, you had some Syrians that were a part of ISIS. Sure, you had some Muhajirin that were a part of ISIS, but it wasn't everybody.
Okay.
And what's happening is that we're not even asking for blanket citizenship. Just hand out some ID cards and we'll just fill in the details. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is that, yes, there should be security vetting. There should be individual case by case vetting. And okay, where were you? What unit did you fight with? What was your contribution? Who knows your contribution? And so on and so forth. And we, as the people who brought this petition to the government, we're willing to work with them. We want there to be this to be a co-project, not just to say, okay, well, you're the government, it's all on you, just make us citizens. That's all we want. That's not like that. What we're saying is that we realize you've got a tough job, but we want to get these women and kids and the people who fought, we want to get these people sorted out. So we are going to submit later this week our plan in terms of how we can make that practically happen with the assistance, or we are by us assisting the government so that there's full transparency, so that there's vetting, and so that everybody turns out to be a winner. Now, up until now, we haven't heard anything from the government. Okay, so I don't know, maybe the brothers are busy, or something or other. But we are friends of the government, but we are also a persistent people, and we're not going to fall asleep.
Bilal, how many people are we looking at? Is it like tens of thousands, or are
No,
we
we're
thinking?
looking at between 7 to 9,000.
Okay, that's not too bad. That could be sorted out within few months. If you want to have interviews and begin a process where you have an intake where you kind of vet these people, it shouldn't be too difficult of a process unless there are people who are outside the country who are against it, against allowing them safe haven. Other
Well,
people who are not Syrian, maybe the Americans or other countries who are saying, no, we want you to prosecute them or not give them citizenship.
Okay, well, this is the way that I like to talk to the brothers. And I want everybody to understand a few things. I'm not going to try to pretend that I know what's in Donald Trump, Keir Starmer, the Germans, and I don't know what's in their hearts. I don't know what their foreign policy is going to be regarding that. And to be real with you, I don't really care. Doesn't make me any difference. But I will say this. If you want to talk a win-win-win situation, there are three entities. You have the Muhajirin, the local government, and the third category are the home countries that they came from. And this could be a win-win-win situation. I'll tell you how. One, as for the Muhajir, if they get citizenship, they now have a country and a passport to travel on. That's a win for them. Their children are legitimized. That's a win for them. Let's take that category and put it off to the side. Let's take the second category, wherein we have the governments around the world. If that were to happen, then they could pretty much do away with messy court cases and people that they didn't really want anyway trying to come back because they have a nationality. You see? They're not going to give them the nationality anyway, but it would save a lot of court battles if they had another nationality. Maybe the Muhajirin would get the Syrian nationality and still fight for their nationality in their home country. That's their right. That's up to them. But most of them would probably just say, look, I got a nationality. Let's just move on. Most of them don't have thousands of dollars to hire slick lawyers to fight their legal battles. So it would be a win for those countries because you'd be getting people off of your necks that you didn't want anyway. The third category would be the local Syrian government. If those muhajirun, whom their home countries didn't want, all of a sudden becomes the problem of Ahmed Shara would be the hero. He'd be the hero to these foreign governments because he removed a stone from their shoe, because that's the way that they see it. And I don't see the Muhajirin as a stone in somebody's shoe, but that's the way they see it. And he'd be a hero because he could say, yo, I looked out for the brothers. So I could see that it would be a win-win situation.
Okay, what do you say to people who say that a lot of these foreign fighters, and of course, I understand you're saying you don't want to support people who are ISIS. What would you say to those who say that the 7,000 to 9,000 that you're proposing to sponsor, or you're saying should be sponsored? Some people have said that those guys were on the CIA payroll, or was that just the ISIS people, or is it both? I remember reading something about the Syrian civil war a few years back that at the height of the Syrian civil war, the Pentagon and the CIA were both backing rival militias against each other. So it's a confusing mess. Hard to say who's who and who's getting paid what and by who. What do you know about that? Where were their paychecks coming from, or was it just coming from their militia commanders?
What I would say to that is this. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Al-bayyinatu al-mudda'i," that the burden of proof is on the claimant. Now, I could just throw accusations and just say this one is a CIA agent, that one works for Mossad, that one works for MI6. All right, I said it. So what? But the way we operate, and as I made mention, I reiterate, we're not asking for blanket citizenship. We're asking for a case-by-case basis that would have security vetting. And if the authorities find that there is some tangible reason why someone should not get Syrian nationality, then I think that should be looked at, that should be explored, and should be discussed. But just to say, man, don't you know some of them guys, they were on the CIA payroll, you didn't know?
Yeah.
It's like, no, I didn't know.
You could even give them, like a temporary passport or some sort of like a permanent resident type of like a provincial transitional. Like we'll see how you are for a period of 5 to 7 years, and if you seem like you're a good. No, I'm talking about the iffy people, like the questionable people.
No, I'm not for that, and I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
Because that will be misused. You see what I'm saying? Now, what I'm saying is this. These territories were closed basically from 2015 till December 2024. That's 9 years. You don't know us by now? We got to be on a probationary period? You already know. We've been here for 9 years. 9 years. You know, it's only 7,000 to 9,000 of us. And there's nobody here that nobody doesn't know.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
So they're not ISIS. They're not Al Qaeda. They're not whatchamacallit. They're not on the payroll that has any proof that of some other agency or some foreign actor. These are all people who came here in good faith, served honorably in any number of different militia groups to get rid of the Assad government.
What I'm saying is that we're not asking for blanket citizenship.
Okay.
We're saying that there should be a case-by-case basis with a realistic and legitimate timeline, and we be willing to assist the government to reach that plateau. We're saying that you see that there's somebody that's there, and you have a problem with him. Okay, that's fair enough. What's your problem? And you have time. He submitted his application. There has to be a period of time where it could be looked into, who's vouching for you, and so on and so forth. So, once again, we're not the enemies of the government. We want the government to have an opportunity to do its vetting process, and we understand that. And we'll be willing to assist you in that. But I don't want to do this temporary residency whoop-de-doo thing, because wasn't nobody talking about no temporary residency situation when the rockets and bombs were falling, and our families, some of them, were killed. And now that people are riding in big airplanes and going around the world, all of a sudden now we want to open up talks where we want to talk about temporary something. No, I think that you should submit your application, and there should be a waiting period for that vetting, and also for interviews, and then it should be decided. What we don't want is to create this thing of continual instability, where it's like, okay, well, it's kind of like giving you a visa for the next 5 years. Okay, well, what are my kids supposed to do if I get killed after 5 years? What?
Right. Gotcha.
After Ahmed al-Shara. Maybe
that's
it'll
very
be
fair.
somebody else.
Yeah,
that's very fair. And then you'd have a crazy situation with a half Egyptian and a half Syrian person whose dad is no citizenship. What a mess.
Bilal, a lot of Muslims around the Muslim world who are engineers, scientists, medical professionals, they see the value of Syria in terms of its geopolitical importance and also its religious importance, that it is one of these pivotal areas where the Prophet said, where what the situation of Syria is where of Sham is what the greater body of Muslims is. So there's a lot of talent that is looking at this and how the Syrians treat the people who help them in removing Assad from power. And seeing if they could be part of this Syrian project in the future. This is the way that Ahmad Shah's government handles this is so instrumental in showing to the Muslim world that, hey, we are welcoming of the support that you give us. We need your support, whether it's financially or if you can even come to our country and help rebuild this country and make it a formidable state in the region. These are pivotal decisions that can set out the course for the country and give confidence to people for the next few decades.
You see, okay, what you just said is huge. It's huge. And let me tell you why. Anybody with eyes can look and see that the fighting here in Syria is not over. And the Israelis are going to make sure it's not over. Okay. The Israelis would be considered a regional superpower, yes or no?
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah, nukes,
Okay.
definitely.
Right. And the Kurdish militia forces, if they have the right weapons in their hands, they are a force to be reckoned with. Right or
For
wrong?
sure.
Of course.
Very
Right?
much so.
Okay. Um, we would say, for argument's sake, that Damascus would have Turkey on its side. Okay. Is it going to be enough? Now, there may come a time next year, 2 years, 5 years from now, when that call has to be made. Yeah, Ummatul Islam. We need brothers to come to help us. Now, if the brothers and sisters who came during the first war are still stateless, don't even have an ID card, and basically were a political football and thrown under the bus, ain't nobody coming, brother. Ain't nobody coming. That's
Right.
that's just basic human nature. So the reason why we're bringing about this petition, it's bigger than the 7 to 9,000 who are here right now. The world is watching to see how Ahmed Shara's government handles the people who gave their blood, their sweat, their citizenship, 10 years of their life. Some of them still have injuries. I mean, I still got shrapnel in my back and all. And that's just me. And I wasn't even a fighter. Some of these guys are bent up.
Yeah.
And you're going to tell me you're going to do them like that?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it could be a major fiasco.
Just ask the government, come on, guys. I know y'all busy, man. Come on, y'all. Stop messing around. Let's get this thing done. And I hope they do.
Yeah. Yeah.
One more question. Oh, sorry.
Go, no,
Simon,
go
cut
for
you
it.
off.
Sorry.
One more quick question in regard to this, because it does need to get sorted. I'm trying to sort this out. Forgive me for my ignorance. Forgive me if I say anything that offends you or anybody in your family or anybody else. One of the problems that's happened since the fall of Assad and the rise of Giuliani's government is that it seems to be that the Druze had a legit beef against some of the members of the HTS military force. And that some of these people, as Giuliani himself said, did some very naughty things. We'll just put it that way. These people, have they always been part of HTS, or were they part of? Let's just say it. Or were they part of ISIS? I'm not talking about the foreign fighters that you're talking about. I'm talking about people in the HTS military right now that did these bad things to Druze. Are there people in his coalition, his military force, his apparatus, whatever it is, that are loose cannons and they were part of ISIS or Al Qaeda, or they're just loose cannons and they weren't affiliated with any particular group except for HTS?
All right. As you can tell, I'm critical of the government in Damascus.
Yes.
But I also want to be fair to them. When the country fell in December of last year, which was about 8.5 months ago, nobody expected the entire country to all of a sudden fall into HTS hands, who was nothing more than a militia force. That's all they were. All of a sudden now, a group that controlled Idlib province and parts of the Aleppo province, all of a sudden now has all of Aleppo, all of Homs, all of Damascus, all of Dara. Okay, you got yourself a personnel problem. So I'm going to tell you that some of those guys that were hired to be in the military and such like that, the vetting process, the going up the chain process, was not what it would normally be because of the necessity of time. He had to field troops, fighters, security people, and such like that. And some of them got down there and they did some dumb stuff. Full stop. I'm not going to try to cover for them. But also at the same time, I understand that Ahmed Shara had to bring some people on that he didn't necessarily know, vet, or trust. Now, that's not to say that I trust all the people that he trusts, but to say that that he could build up an army that could protect the borders in 8 months flat of trustworthy people and strict hierarchy and stuff like that, it's not realistic. And that doesn't take away from the pain and the suffering that the Druze people went through at some of those rogue ops hands. And I'm going to tell you something about the Druze people. I have um, I have sat with them, met them, and I find them to be nice people. That doesn't mean every last one of them. It doesn't. But also at the same time, I don't want people thinking that all of the Druze all want Israel. All of the Druze are with Hikmat al-Hajri, and all of the Druze want to secede from Syria, because that is completely unequivocally false.
Mhm.
And there are some good people and some decent people. And I wasn't happy to go there to see that some of those people were mistreated. But I also saw that some of the other fighters were checking some of the fighters, saying, "Yo, man, don't do that." So you see some of the fighters looting some of the houses. "Yo, man, put that back. What you doing?" Do you see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So, but something took place going back about 5 days ago, 6 days ago. There was a conference in Damascus, and well, I tried to sneak in. It wasn't a conference where they had members of the press, but it was a conference between Muslims, the Druze community, and the Christian community. And they were trying to sit down and discuss the way forward. And one of the guys said to me outside, they wouldn't let me in. But no, I understood because I wasn't invited. And one of the brothers that were there told me to come down. I came down. I tried to do the thing, how you just knocking at the window, but it didn't work. And but I took a 5 hour drive, and Allah will reward me for my intention, inshallah. But he said something, and I want everybody to listen to what he said. He said, and this was one of the members of the Druze community. He said, "Bilal, between the Druze community, the Muslims, and the Christians, we have never had a problem between us that was religious based." That was huge. It's
That's what
always,
I've heard from other Syrians too.
it's
People
always,
who are for a
it's
while.
always somebody
Yeah.
coming from the outside, Netanyahu saying, "Yeah, man, go get him, man. I wouldn't take that if I were you." And then you got,
Right.
I got some money for you and some guns. Go do your thing. Okay, I'll do it. Look at these Bedouins and all, and Assad use all of these people as pawns. What I would love to see, and I hope I have a voice in this, and to be able to say, look, some messed up stuff happened to the Druze, and some of the Druze did some messed up stuff to the Bedouin tribesmen.
Mhm.
All right, guys, let's see what we can do now. Where do we want this to go? Because I'm going to tell you something, and I'm telling guys this. The Israelis are going to drop you like a bad habit as soon as they get what they want. That's what they do. That's their gig.
Oh, very true.
You see? But
So, would you hold these guys accountable? Well, do you think has Jelani done this already? Correct me if I'm wrong. Should he have max, uh, uh, public executions of people who commit war crimes, or excuse me, following whatever the Sharia says for people
I
on
think
both sides?
I think that everybody who acted improperly should be accountable. I think that everybody who acted improperly should be accountable. Because look,
I agree.
you can't go up to, come on, man. This guy, he's a Druze, man. He's just another Syrian. He don't know what's going on. He's got a bag full of apples and some cheese in his in his bag. He's going home. Next thing you know, he gets smacked upside the head and kicked down the stairs. What's up? That's not jihad. That's not defense of the country. That's not who we are. That's not what this revolution was all about. So they should be held accountable. Now, are they being held accountable to that? To be honest with you, I have not heard that they are. That doesn't mean that they aren't. So I cannot say yes or no, but it would be good if the government would give us an update in terms of who those jokers were that carried out some of that stuff that they shouldn't have been doing, and they should be held accountable.
Right, because it would help Jelani with his legitimacy as a governor, as a president of the country, to be able to offer justice, maintain order and discipline of his own military. And I think tying in with like what you said about the foreign fighters, if there's another kerfuffle, which we could come around next year here. If they don't get that citizenship or some recognition or some sort of permanence, who's going to want to sign up later? But likewise, I would say for this justice issue, it's pretty important as well. If they don't get these people in their coalition that are out of control, if they don't bring some sort of public justice and make a public example of them, what could happen is people won't trust the government long term for the same sorts of reasons.
Well, one of the situations, Bilal, is I'm a bit sympathetic to Jolani in the sense that when you're in a situation where he is in, where it's effectively the birth of a new country, and you have so many different factions within your country, and we all know, as Arab societies are, they're very tribalistic in nature, and you upset the wrong person, you can make an enemy for life, right? And it seems like he's dancing through a minefield, and every step he has to take has to have so much thought and consideration behind his moves that, in effect, it may just be paralyzing as a head of state. Like when you're so new in consolidating power, and you make the wrong move, you may end up inciting a civil war again. What are your thoughts on that?
Look, I'm going to give it to you straight, brother. No ifs, no ands, or buts about it. Do I feel for him in that regard? I don't. And I'm going to tell you why. The methodology that we're supposed to be taking is the Sharia. That helps us to navigate these minefields because it makes it clear what we can and can't do, should and shouldn't be doing. We fall into problems when we start saying, yeah, we got the Sharia and, we make our salat and everything. But, I got my own thing that I'm doing over here. And you know what? I got Netanyahu, I got Trump on the phone. Oh, I got Keir Starmer on the phone. And if I do this Muslim thing, he ain't going to have it. Okay, but look, guys. The Muslim lands are full of practical, tactical, fox-like leaders that are all failures. Every last one of them. Isn't it time to try something new? Didn't you tell the people that it was all about Islam? Didn't you tell the people that it was about Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah? Didn't you tell the people that once we were to vanquish Bashar al-Assad, that it's going to be the Sharia? Isn't that what you told the people? I think you should honor that because that would help him to sidestep some of these binds that are there. For example, the Prophet ﷺ, when he came into Medina, same situation. You had Jews, you had that were into all kinds of stuff, had all kinds of alliances, betrayed him, and so on and so forth. If we look in the Syria how the Prophet ﷺ did it, let's do it that way. Because at least if we fail trying to implement Islam, not some other slick agenda that some new guy came along and he thinks he's smarter than everybody else. Come on, guys. Come on, y'all.
Amen. So I got a great follow up for that. I'm so sorry. Well, Constitution of Medina, because we got all these beefs between all these different groups that sometimes pop up, and people have been talking about, well, maybe the country should fall apart. I have not heard a single person. I don't know why it takes a redneck from Texas to say this. Why no one has said Constitution of Medina? Nobody said, "Hey, why don't we implement the Constitution of Medina or some modern version of that that would work for Syria in this situation?" Because that would allow Syria to stay unified as a country. I mean, theoretically, while also allowing for some people to have more Sharia over here, the Druze to do their Druze things, Kurds to do their Kurds thing, you know, whatever other group, the Christians to do their Christian thing in their little town over here. Why is nobody saying the Constitution of Medina?
Ahmed al-Shara didn't follow through on his promise for Sharia. He didn't. And then he went, and now he's doing open operations, assisting genociders of Muslims right in front of everybody. Mm-hmm. How interested do you think Ahmed Shara is going to be in your, Mr. Shara, what do you think about the Medina Constitution?
Right.
You think he's going to be interested? I don't.
So I'm too thrilled.
I mean, if you're carrying out operations, military operations, kill operations, because even if these guys that were killed were ISIS, most of the ulama will still tell you that those ISIS members are on dalala, that they are on extreme misguidance. But most of the ulama still say that they're Muslim. You can't bring the Americans in here and have a cooperation against other Muslims. They might be whacked out Muslims, but also at the same time, if they're still Muslims, you know that violates. I'm not saying anybody's not Muslim here, but that violates your Islam by bringing in these Americans to carry out kill operations against Muslims when you could have done it yourself. You could have got your to surround the area and tell them cats to come out with their hands up. If they don't come out, we coming in shooting.
I mean, if anything, that would have killed the argument that, oh, these guys are all ISIS holdovers. You know, it would if he was actually going around and actually dealing with ISIS and dealing with the bad news bears in the ranks, it would kind of silence his critics. But instead, he just kind of gives them ammo.
Yeah, but guys, look, at the end of the day, if we were to just to say, look, all right, today is August 31st. We made some mistakes. What we're going to do is we're going to bring a certain number of ulama or scholars to be our advisors. And we are going to do our best to implement Sharia and do it the way the Prophet ﷺ did it. Because trying other stuff, so far it hasn't worked. Because so far we've lost a good portion of Quneitra. Also, Daraa is a no man's land. We've lost all of Suwaydat. The Kurdish forces that control around a third or a little bit less than that of the country, they said that they're going to join the government, but they ain't making no moves to do it. So obviously, us being slick and trying to make the moves and stuff, we haven't benefited from it. All right, look, what happened. Tomorrow's September 1st. Let's start doing some Islam and let's see what happens. If we're going to fail, let's fail doing it the Islamic way. Why are we going to fail doing it doing the kufr and bringing in kuffar to kill Muslims and somehow we want to call this practicality? We want to call this like this is good statesmanship? What are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? At least that's my take.
It's a great way to come to a close. Bilal, do you have any closing thoughts? Anything that we may have forgotten or left out unintentionally?
I think the last thing that I would like to say is this. Syria is an Arabic-speaking country. And I speak to the brothers and sisters as much as I can and do things in Arabic. So somebody might say, well, why is he doing it in English? What's he trying to say? What's the message he's trying to bring? That Syria is a part of the Ummah. We need the brothers and sisters who speak English, Arabic, French, German, Italian, and all the other languages to stay engaged. We can't afford for you guys to get distracted. That's what they want, so that we have to face a mountain full of enemies by ourselves. Don't think that you don't have a voice, because you do. You got to hang tough with us, brothers and sisters. You got to stay engaged. You got to keep tweeting. You got to keep doing videos. You got to keep helping the people to understand that we need Islam to save us. Doing slick statesmanship is not the way to go. We need to help Ahmed Shara understand that not only are the Ummah, or I should say the Syrians here, going to get their butts kicked, but he himself is going to have big problems with all of these people. You think Netanyahu likes him? He don't like him. You think Trump likes him? All the smart talk that Trump was saying, he doesn't care about Ahmed Shara. And the only one that can protect him is Al-Hafiz, and that's Allah. Maybe Allah will open up something much bigger for him than he has now. But we got to do this thing the Islamic way. And we need all of the voices of the brothers and sisters to keep encouraging. And, Harry, you got your guy out in California and everything. And, you talk to him. If he wants to, just tell him to call Bilal. Call him up. You know what I'm saying? The brothers there, they have my number. Call him up. He'll talk to you. And if you want to call him up and tell him, Bilal, you a bum, he's not going to get upset. But we all have to keep staying busy. We got to keep cranking out this dawah, man. That's the only way.
Absolutely, 100%.
Oh, you have Jelani's number.
No, I don't have his number. And even if I did, he don't want to talk to me.
Yeah.
I'm a thorn in their side, because
Right.
I won't shut up. I won't be quiet. You know what I'm saying?
That's what we love about you, brother. Thank you so much for your time. For our listeners, please make sure you hit that old like button, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and throw a comment in the comment section below with your thoughts. Really, the show, it really does help out the algorithm when you do that. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll see y'all next time. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah khair.
I want their leader brought here. I want him brought to me. I want the revolution crushed.